What's up, everybody? This is Kyle Thumm. This chat is with Russ Ward, the lead king, and it was an awesome conversation. We talk about online leads, we talk about appointment setting, we talk about selling, we talk about Facebook forums versus landing pages, we talk about surveys. There's a lot of value in this interview. And at the end, we actually talk about a funny story that Russ last week went viral and got featured in the Washington Post for the mask that he wore to Walmart. So, I mean, overall, it's just a really, really fun conversation. I hope that you guys enjoy. If you like these interviews, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And now let's go ahead and get into it with Solar Growth Podcast number 9. So, this is Kyle Thumm, Clean Energy Marketing, talking to Russ Ward, the lead king. Obviously, he's an online marketing whiz. He's doing a lot of big stuff, and I keep up with him. He's in my network, and he's everywhere. I see him all over the place. And right now, we're talking specifically. We're going to talk about a few things, but I want to talk about your experience in the solar industry, because I know you have been in the solar industry, but it sounds like you're maybe moving away from that. So, can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, so solar is actually how I got into lead generation to begin with. I got a job at Solar City in, I believe, 2016. And I was there just as they were transitioning over to Tesla. And I was killing it, man. I was bringing in 25, 30 deals a month at Solar City. But the problem is I had to juggle these things where Solar City was so far out on their installs that I had to lie to my customers from the previous month or two or three while acquiring new customers. And I was the top producer, and they threatened to fire me every month because customers kept dropping off because they weren't doing installs. So rather than just take the leads they were giving me from people walking into Home Depot, I figured out a way to generate my own leads. And then it ultimately led me to leaving the company, because if I didn't share that information with everybody else in the room, they threatened to fire me again. So it was a pretty negative experience toward the end. They couldn't just accept that I was good at selling solar and leave me the hell alone. They were like, you have to share it with everybody else, and if you don't, you're fired. And I was like, that's fine, I'm fired. And but what that did was that led me to learning how to generate solar leads, which led me to learning how to generate real estate leads, and then led me to generating all types of leads. And now that's what I do full time.
Yeah, very cool. And so the industries that your primary focus is real estate and mortgage. Is that right?
That's what I focus on right now. I have done solar for companies and myself. Even after leaving Solar City, I moved to Florida, and I have a friend that owns a solar company. So every once in a while, I generate some leads for myself and go sell some solar just to keep up in how it goes, to keep my sales skills sharp. But yeah, real estate and mortgage are what I do most now, because I find that they're a bit less whiny than solar reps.
Really?
Solar reps, yeah, and real estate agents, man, they can be really whiny. What I found with the solar reps is they expect if they pay you money for leads, then they better close to a deal. And I'm here to tell you that if you can close 5 leads out of 100 to a closed deal, you're doing really, really good. If you tell me that you want to close half the leads that you bring in, you're being delusional. It just doesn't happen, because it's just a lot of big numbers,
Well, yeah, I think this is something that I talk about a lot, is they come into online leads and they think it's like this glory, like I'm paying money for this. These people are requesting information. Like these are going to be top notch, like they think it's going to be easy, and it's not easy. I tell people to step above knocking doors, where you still have to, hook them. You still have to talk to them. You still have to build rapport before you even go in for the close. And a lot of the times what people come up to me, and the reason I started my business was I talked to hundreds and hundreds of solar reps, and they were all like, oh yeah, I've been burned this many times. And a lot of times there were times where they actually were scammed. They were taken advantage of by someone who didn't know what they were doing. But a lot of times too, they worked with someone who I know is a good marketer. I know that person can produce leads that are good. And it's just a matter of not having the systems or the understanding to be able to connect the dots. But I'm interested. I see, I've had limited experience with real estate. Real estate, I kind of had the opposite, where I thought real estate people were a little bit more, I don't want to say whiny, but they were a little bit more challenging possibly than solar reps. But I think it's just about finding the right people within the niches anyways. But the reason that real estate and solar kind of go hand in hand is because they obviously have some pretty good commission, where if you help them to close one deal, they're going to be able to spend more money and put more money in everybody's pocket. Compared to gym memberships, where every client that comes in, yeah, it's like $40 a month, but you have to keep going, or else it can stop at any time. what is what is your advice to someone if they're working with online leads for the first time?
Well, just to clarify, I did find that real estate were very whiny. I think what's happened since then is I've set my expectations a lot better. I have a 16-page contract that I make them initial every single page. And of those 16 pages, it's basically laid out. If you do any of the following, you do not get a refund and I fire you as a client. It's basically, you can't do this stuff. You can't cry. You can't whine. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's insane what I have to do.
So give us some examples, like some specific examples.
So if you talk to me in an unprofessional way, if you throw a tantrum, if you cry because, you call leads one time and they don't answer, like these are all laid out step by step. I agree not to do this. I agree not to do this. And I make them initial every single one of them. And I know it's dumb, but if people try to get a refund from me, I will go back to that contract and I'll be like, look, you can try to get a refund, but you initialed every step. So I haven't gone that hardcore on solar reps because I was a solar rep and I thought they were a little less soft than that. But what I'm finding is it's a personality thing. It's not an industry thing, possibly. There's just people that are soft in every industry and people that just can't close, and that's really a sales training thing more than a personality thing, maybe. But if you're dealing with online leads, there's really two kinds of leads you can get. You can get high intent, high quality, long form leads where we actually ask them a whole bunch of questions and they literally are the best leads you can get. Now they're going to be very expensive. I was running long form leads in San Diego just last week and leads were coming in for $100 to $150. And everybody I talk to wants cheap leads, but the best quality, right? And you can't have both. You can have cheap leads. We can bring you in tons of them. And that's really, really good if you have a call center or you have a dedicated VA, because then they can weed through them all and you can get a really nice return on investment. However, if you want really good leads, the kind that answer a whole bunch of questions, they are actually interested right now, right here, then you're going to pay a lot of money for those leads. And the key to all of these is as soon as it comes in, you have to have systems in place to contact them. You need automated text messages, automated emails, chat bots. I recommend, and recently I started finding that if you have a VA that's plugged into your CRM, your follow-up system, if the automation engages with a lead and then the VA jumps in and gives a human touch, those are converting to appointments a lot better than just having the automation convert to a link to an appointment. So that's one bit of advice that I could give people is I don't care if you're brand new and you just have a wife or a girlfriend or a brother or a sister, have somebody in your automation system talking in real time with these people if possible, because that leads to booked appointments.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 100% I agree. I think the challenges that a lot of people encounter with online leads goes back to they call once, they leave a voicemail, and then they're like waiting for the phone to ring, and they wait for a week, right. And then they come to people like us and say, oh, well, these leads suck. You have to get these people on the phone. Like you have to make as many attempts as possible. I know people that do double tap where they call once, if they don't answer, they call again. Someone was saying that one of the larger companies does quadruple taps where they call, if you don't answer, they call, if they don't answer, they call, they don't basically call until they get the person on the phone. Because it's very important to have the system so that when the leads come in, you're able to get in contact with them and automate it as much as possible. Because obviously if you're doing something that has volume, it's going to be much harder to stay on top of it manually for sure. So what is it what would you say is like your philosophy when it comes to lead gen? So this is more geared towards like if someone was to do lead gen on their own, number one, would you ever recommend someone teaching themselves? And number two, what type of philosophy would people have to have if they're going into the lead generation for themselves, specifically in the solar industry? So
not too long ago, I would have said, yeah, anybody could really just dabble in there. And if you have enough money to spend, you could probably figure it out. Hiring a guy like me and a guy like you or taking a course, you're basically just buying a shortcut, right? You're buying knowledge and you're buying time so you don't have to do it on your own. What I found recently, though, is that most people in the solar industry are running pretty much the same ads. They're running go solar for zero down, save the environment, all these pictures of solar installers or a green tree and people have become extremely desensitized to this. in my city in Tampa, I mean, the competition is fierce. It's cutthroat. I could see 20 different solar ads a day with all the same message: go solar for zero down. So if you're going to run ads, you can't have the same message, because you won't get any leads, because you won't stand out. You have to have an offer of some kind. It either has to be compelling, so as you're scrolling through Facebook, you stop and like, damn, I want to look at that for a second. Or it has to be an offer that people are like, you know, this may or may not be true, but I'm going to check it out. So the best offer that I've found in the last, I don't know, probably 12 months, and I've tried a whole bunch of them, give this away for free, that away for free. We found $1,000 cash rebate is what works best. And I don't care how you do it. Take it out of your commission, build it into your sales price, get a partner to give you the money. But we consistently have been able to book appointments, not just get leads, but book appointments. If we tell them, yes, if you qualify, you will get $1,000 cash rebate. And then to take that a step further, what I did in the past was I actually went to the client's house of deals I personally sold, and I brought $100 bills, and I would just drop them right in front of them. And then I said, if you tell somebody else about this, that I just gave you $1,000 cash and they go solar, I'll give you 500 more. So you can really build a referral program too, because the commissions are so huge in solar if you work with the right company. I mean, I'm making an average of, you know, $3,000 to $6,000 per closed deal, and I don't have much cost per acquisition whatsoever. So I don't care. I'll give you $1,000 of that, because you're probably going to tell somebody else who's I'm going to give you another $500 and I'll make another $3,000 to $6,000. You know, so I really want to stress that you have to have a compelling offer. If your offer is not compelling, if it's like, yeah, we'll give you some free, you know, green lights or something for your house, or LED lights, no one cares, man. They've heard it all before. Has to be compelling. Has to be something. If it's going to be a video or an image, it has to be something that catches your attention, right? It has to be like a picture of like a planet blowing up and exploding, or, you know, that's just a wild example, but it has to be something like that.
Oh yeah, it's the hook. So there's the hook story offer for anyone who's familiar. Russell Brunson, that's kind of his philosophy. Is the hook is whatever it is that gets people to stop scrolling. And you can have the best ad copy in the world, but if you don't have a good image, number one, you're probably not going to get that many people. So you have to have a good image that stands out in the Facebook feed. If you're on Facebook, it's the same thing no matter where you're at. Is if you're doing Google ads, you have to have a hook that's a very solid headline that really grabs their attention, but also differentiates itself from the different Google ads they might be seeing. Have you ever experimented with Google ads or YouTube ads or any other platforms other than Facebook?
I haven't personally for these things. I do know some people they're just killing it with YouTube ads. Mm-hmm. The problem with Google ads from the people I've collaborated with is that the cost per click can be very prohibitive in terms of your budget, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes a click for solar could come in at $5, $8, $10, $12. And if that doesn't convert to a lead, man, you're screwed, you know? The nice thing about Google, obviously, is it's search marketing instead of interruption marketing, which is great. But if you don't have a budget of like 20, 30, 50, a couple $100 a day, it's just, you know, it's just not going to be worth it to you.
Yeah. So my background, or before I was into Facebook ads, I did a lot of Google ads. And the trouble that I see with Google ads for solar, and so this is for anyone who's out there that's possibly running Google ads, is number one, it is intent based, but that also means that people are in a buy it now mode, which sounds good, but they're also kind of shopping around. So they see your ad and they also see multiple ads and all the other people that are organically there, and they're going to click around, and even if they request a quote from you, they're probably requesting a quote from multiple people. Where if we can get them on one of the other platforms and we can interrupt them and get them to opt in, we kind of have exclusive rights to that lead, and we know that they're not necessarily clicking around. So I think that it definitely is a more qualified lead, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a better lead. And yes, in my experience, Google ads are much too expensive, where it might make your life easier as far as you don't have to necessarily call as many people, but your acquisition cost is definitely going to go up. And yes, I know people that are crushing it in YouTube as well. And YouTube is definitely a different platform, and there's a higher barrier to entry because people have to be able to produce content, and they have to be able to understand the algorithm, where it seems like almost anyone can learn Facebook ads, or at least pretend like they know Facebook ads. And that's unfortunately why a lot of people have been scammed. Where do you see the solar industry going in like the next few years? Because I mean, I guess it really depends on these federal tax credits. Because I think one of the things that you mentioned that's super important for anyone is you have to have a compelling offer. And what we're seeing is everyone kind of has similar offers, and it's becoming more competitive. More people are competing on price. Where is it that you see the solar industry going from your perspective?
You know, my opinion, based on, you know, just where I've seen it go since I got in, obviously, when they had the full tax credit. So you could use that as a hook, right? And then the new hook you could use this year is, hey, you already lost out on a couple percent. You sure you want to keep on losing this percent? And I think the offer going forward is eventually everybody's going to go solar. It just makes logical sense. Do you want the tax credit or don't you want the tax credit? And if you do want it, you better get it now because it's going to keep going down, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think everybody's eventually going to go solar because it just makes sense, right? It's, with all the environmental regulations and things like that, like where I started out in Pittsburgh, I was actually doing a bill swap at the time because our electricity bills weren't very expensive. And I was selling a PPA in Pittsburgh for Solar City. So literally I was convincing people to get into a 20-year contract PPA for a price that was exactly the same as their bill, just because I was able to sell the coolness factor of doing solar so hard. So what you have to do as a solar sales rep is you have to adapt to what's going on, right? In Pittsburgh, I couldn't sell on you're going to save money because they weren't going to save money. And I told them that up front, you will not save money. And no, that's not an easy sale, but this is a free solar system. That's how I framed it. It wasn't really free, but that was kind of my hook, right? So as time goes on, you have to be adaptable. You have to say, well, the tax credits are going down, or my $1,000 cash rebate is going to go away. Or at Super Bowl time, you can offer a freaking, 65-inch TV. Whatever it is, man, you can't just be a sales rep. Because I know there's a lot of these grunts out there, and no disrespect to the grunts. And I'm talking about these guys that pound the doors, and then they're just going to bust up into your house and close the shit out of you. Excuse me. I shouldn't have said that on a podcast.
No, it's all good. I put the little explicit
Okay.
thing because we can.
Right.
I don't cuss all that often, but feel free, go for it. Makes it more fun.
But yeah, what you got to do though is you have to understand that you can't just be a hardcore closer. You have to be a marketer in the process, because everyone and their brother beating the doors is a closer too. You're not the only closer out there. So what I did one time, because I wanted to test some of my props. And so I should have brought them for our interview, but I can share this with you later. I actually had 10 gigantic $100 bills that I bought off Amazon laminated. And then in another hand, I had a voucher for a vacation. And I would walk up to the door with a solar hat on and a big green shirt that said, get paid $1,000 to go solar. And I'd have both my hands up, knock on the door. And as soon as they answered, I'd hand them one of the props. And what I found is that as long as they're holding my prop, that they would not shut the door on me, and that at least listen to me. And I'd be like, you can get $1,000 cash to go solar. Also, if you at least just sit through and hear us out through an appointment, and no strings attached, you can get a vacation voucher. And you can have both of them. It's not one or the other. And they're just like, well, this seems like a scam. What's the deal? I promise you there's no scam. All you got to do is hear us out for, 30 minutes. If you don't like it, kick us out of your house. And what I find is that if you use props, and you can get them to hold your props, they're going to listen to you, and your appointment set rate's going to be good. Now, I don't like doing door knocking because I'm a huge advocate of why not just run an ad to a million people rather than knock on a million doors. But I know that it works because I went out and tested it for 2 days, and I was able to set a lot of appointments doing that.
So give me an example. Like what type? I'm trying to visualize it. What prop is the best that you've ever used?
The best I use is I would hold up the $100 bills that were laminated and just hold it up and then knock on the door with my other hand. And as soon as they answered the door, I handed them the $100 laminated or the $1,000 laminated. And I would just say to them, hey, listen, I know you don't know me, but just hear me out for 30 seconds. I promise I won't waste your time. We're actually giving away $1,000 cash rebates for people who go solar, and there's no cost out of pocket. There's no obligation. And oh, by the way, if you just hear us out, because everyone's going to go solar anyway. We'll even give you a vacation voucher for free, and you don't have to go through a timeshare, none of that stuff. All I want you to do is just listen, because eventually everyone's going to go solar. You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. And why don't you just take the $1,000 and go on a vacation on us, right? And most of the time they'll be like, all right, tell me more.
I can't. I'm trying to think what I would do if someone did that at my house. It definitely would catch your interest a lot better than the people that knock up and they're all anxious with their hands in their pockets. And it's fun. I love that.
What you're doing is you are becoming the Facebook ad, right? You're interrupting marketing their door is what you're doing in that case.
You're leading with what they care about. Like that's the thing that I think is I can't stress. I stress this. I've said it a billion times, but I always tell people is the reason a lot of people struggle when they call online leads is because the online leads are opting in for an ad that says, hey, did you know that you can qualify for cash back, that you can save money, or that you can get money back every single month, and you can make this switch to solar? And then the solar reps get on the phone and they're like, hey, I heard that you want to get a solar system. And it's like, that's not what they really want. Is they want the
Exactly.
savings, they want the money, they want the benefit that solar can give them. So you have to kind of ease into the solar conversation. That's kind of what you're doing, is you're leading with the hook. You're leading with the thing that people actually care about. As much as we want to pretend that, I mean, we all love the environment. Like I'm fully supportive of solar, but the majority of people aren't buying solar because they want to help the environment. They're buying solar right now because there's some sort of incentive benefit that they can get to, and that's what you're doing. You're doing the exact same thing at the door. And I mean, for anyone watching this, if you don't have an ad budget, you can go and do that right now on somebody's door, and it's going to probably perform a lot better than a Facebook ad as far as the ROI. It's going to tire you out, but it's something that you can do with nothing but energy. So that's awesome.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you have any other examples of other props?
No, yeah, actually what I did was I wanted to make some videos because I was running some ads to a funnel where I was offering $1,000 cash rebate. So I wanted to have some money in the funnel, but I didn't want to have like $10,000 cash because I just didn't want to be carrying around that kind of money. So I actually found a website where all the movie studios get their money for movies. And so I got a couple of bricks of $10,000, and I was like flipping through it in this video. And you can go, and I was standing at the pool in my complex where I live in front of this cool waterfall. It made it look like I was actually, much more wealthy than I was. And I had $10,000 brick in my hand where I was, swiping through the cash, standing by this really cool pool, saying, listen, you can go solar. You can get $1,000 cash rebate. I have $10,000 here in my hand. I'll bring it to your house. I'll show it to you. You can hold it. You can look at it. And, all you have to do is just hear us out. I have this much money for the next 10 people who go solar. And that was really eye-catchy because it looked just like real money. I think it was like $40 for a brick of $10,000 all.
That's funny.
So I had two of them. I had actually a brick like you'd see at the bank. And then I had this other one that was like all beat up with rubber bands. And what I'd do is I'd pull that out of my pocket in the appointment and I would throw it on the table. And they would their eyes would bug out like, whoa, dude, like you really just dropped 10 grand on my table. And it looked like I did. Now I would be careful though. Like if you go to certain neighborhoods, like you don't want to do that in the wrong neighborhood because you could get beat down and they could steal your fake money. But, for the most part, I didn't have any problems with that.
It would be awesome it'd be awful if they stole your fake money. So I've seen people with a big check and they do the same thing where it's a big check and they can write $1,000 on it or whatever. And you go up to these people's doors and they have that sense like they're on that I don't remember what that show is called, like the
Publishers Clearinghouse.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, and so then they get to feel like, oh, I won, and then obviously they may be a little disappointed when they realize it's just someone trying to sell them solar. But it's just about getting creative and getting the conversation started. Because it's the same thing with the phone call. Is your goal is really to get past the first 10 seconds. Like keep them engaged, give them a hook, and then get them involved in the conversation. Then you can move forward. With you mentioned landing pages. What's your philosophy on landing pages versus like lead forms, for example, or even sending people directly to a survey?
So I've tried all three, and what I find is that if we use lead forms, specifically the new lead forms that Facebook has, I don't know if a lot of people have seen them, but they have a very, very new and much nicer looking lead form, where I used to be able to just pull in name, email, phone number, and then would bring those at huge volume and then would take a massive follow-up campaign. So those would be lower intent, but a lot less costly, right? You could get those leads as low as like $1 in some places like Houston and Miami. With the new lead forms though, you can actually put a couple of questions right on the lead form. One question we've been asking is, are you the homeowner? Is your electric bill over $100, right? We just want to have at least a little bit of an intent when we're doing this, so we're not getting tire kickers. Because if we're getting non-homeowners, obviously that's a no-go for us. Yeah. Running directly to a survey, I found works the least best. I think because people's scam meter is up, right? They're like, everybody's always paranoid online, like, oh, this is a scam. So what I found is that if you take that same survey and you embed it into a very nice page, where the page might have a video, it might have some social proof, it might have some video or written testimonials. You can have them go through the survey on the funnel, which is embedded in, and then you just have them drop them off on a landing page. And then that way they become a lead. They feel a lot more comfortable because you might have a company logo. You might have a video from the owner, something like that. What I find with all ads, but specifically in solar, I found this, is that you have to build trust because there's so much competition out there, and people have heard, you probably see this all the time. When people run solar ads, every other one is scam, 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 right? And the reason they're saying this is because they're conditioned to say scam. Anything that seems too good to be true, there's a section of the society that's going to type scam.
Well,
You know?
they've heard the stories, and because it's a little bit more of an industry that's like almost in the Wild West, where you have a red line and you can really charge however much you want. And people years ago, I think more than now, were taken advantage of, were the reps that were charging them way more than they should. And so you have people now that were like, oh yeah, they told me I could save money, but I'm actually paying $100 more a month now. Solar's a scam. And
Right.
that's kind of the messaging that a lot of those people, and there's a lot of people out there that they're skeptical. They want to believe everything is a scam. So when they hear things like that, it just kind of reaffirms that. And plus, I mean, when something does sound too good to be true, you need to take it with a grain of salt. But yes, comments all the time. This is a scam. This is a scam. And you can even reply and have a conversation. How is this a scam? It's 100% true. And here's a little tip for people. If you're running Facebook ads and people are posting like negative comments on it, don't delete the comments. Facebook doesn't like that. Either respond with like a good response. And like, if you can respond with a response that says, no, it's not a scam because this is exactly how it works. And then people that are reading it will say, oh, well, that does make sense. Or hide it. Hide it doesn't necessarily mess with the algorithm quite as much as deleting. So, what about messenger bots?
So I tried running ads directly to a messenger bot that would basically qualify them, asking them what a survey did. And what I found is that most people don't complete the messenger bot, because at least with the survey, there's a percentage and they can see when the survey is going to end. Now, this is just my theory, but I'm thinking they don't know if the messenger bot will ever end. Like, I'm talking to this damn bot, and is it going to ever end? So I found the completion rate with bots was insanely low. Now, what you can do is you can run a messenger objective. You're not necessarily running it to a bot, but you're running it. You want them to start a conversation with you. And if you have the time, or you have a VA or an employee who can jump right into that conversation, I find in all home improvement ads that I've ever run, messenger objective works really well, because the first question you can have is, hey, what are you trying to do here? What's your motivation to do this? And then they answer that engaging question, and now the conversation begins. Just like you said before, our first goal is to have a conversation. But our first goal can't be to sell them something, because that's like, you're like dating this person, right?
Yeah,
so
you can't be qualifying them first either. You can't be saying, hey, okay, oh, great. Are you a homeowner? What's your credit score? Blah, blah, blah. You have to.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You have to like schmooze them a little bit. You have to say, okay, great. This is what we're offering, blah, blah, blah. And then you kind of slyly slide in those comments. Okay, by the way, how long have you owned your home? That's your way of asking if they own the home without saying, do you own your home?
Yeah, there's very clever ways to ask questions. You don't want to back them into a corner and make them feel like it's a test where it's a yes or no. You want to get the answers by, oh, okay, how long have you owned your home? And that's kind of assuming that they've owned their home. They say, oh, well, I don't. Oh, okay. Well, unfortunately, you must be a homeowner to qualify for this program.
Exactly.
Or like another good one is, okay, how long have you owned your home? I've owned it for 8 years. Oh, great. Have you replaced your roof in that time? Rather than asking directly, how old is your roof? Or is your roof more than 10 years old? And there's this more, I think that's definitely a sales thing, is understanding how to get the answers that you want without putting their back against the wall.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So I want to go back to what you mentioned with the Facebook form. So for people that don't know, the Facebook form updates, it used to be more of like, it used to be a drop down, and you would select like your answers to questions. And now what Facebook has done is they've actually done multiple choice, and it's like there's bubbles, and it's much more appealing for people to actually click. So you can ask them, are you a homeowner? Yes or no. Is your electric bill over this much? Yes or no. You can't ask about credit, but you can ask other qualifying questions. And the cool thing is when you have the systems and the CRMs that we have in the solar industry, like for example, Go High Level. I have a Go High Level. I believe you used similar software, and you can set it up so that only people that answer a specific way get added to specific campaigns. And if they give you a specific answer that says, oh, my bill is less than $100 a month, you can have a follow-up that says, oh, well, unfortunately, it really only makes sense if you have a bill that's higher than that, because we want to help you save money. And then you can start a conversation based on the responses that they give you. So that's very cool, and Facebook has made it a lot easier. And have you noticed that Facebook ads have kind of been like a roller coaster these last few months?
They have, absolutely. Like I said, I ran a campaign for a company recently, starting in around March, I think. We were getting leads for $1 all the way through March into early April. And then they touched the ads, these knuckleheads. I told them, don't ever touch the ads. They actually turned them off and ran their own ad, and their ads started coming in at like $27 a lead. And they're like, can we turn the other ones on? And it never went back to normal. So then we had that happen there. We had, moderately priced leads in Houston, Texas. And then what I found was when we were running the long form survey leads in San Diego, they were going from anywhere from like $80 to $150 a lead, which was just nuts. I'd never seen them go that high. So yeah, it really has been a roller coaster since March. Before then, it was pretty predictable. Like you could tell me a city and I could say, yeah, it'll probably be about that much in that city, but I have no idea.
Exactly. Yeah, no, when I remember in March is because that's when the COVID first started, and I think COVID scared everybody because all of a sudden prices went, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then over the last 2 months, it's like they've just kind of been slowly, steadily rising. And they're like, oh, this is where we used to be. And they just kept going. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on with Facebook? It's definitely been a roller coaster. And then I think I have theories about I wonder if it's because the election's coming up and political campaigns are advertising to the general population everywhere. And you're seeing all these ads. And now you're reading about companies that are leaving Facebook, and maybe that'll lower the price a little bit. But it's important to know that you can't only rely on cheap leads. Like if you're only able to close deals when your leads are $1 and you're going to have a bad time, because Facebook it's out of our control. We have to be able to have systems that can be profitable no matter what the situation is. So that's why having the follow-ups and the predictability, so you can say every 10 leads, I'm able to get at least one appointment. And if you can do that and get those systems in place, then you should be successful as long as prices don't go to the moon. And it's just such a great platform to be able to utilize. So one last thing I want to ask you is, if you had to give one golden nugget or one golden, a perfect tip for someone out there who's in the solar industry, maybe they're looking at this online thing and they've never done it before from an online ads perspective, what would be the one solid piece of advice you would give them?
Man, nothing like putting me on the spot, huh? The one bit of advice. Well, I already said
okay,
it.
so I'll give you a little time. So I gave this. What happened was I interviewed Cody, or no, it wasn't Cody Booth. It was Ben Mack a few weeks ago, and he was like, it was like as I was going off the air, he's like, oh, here's a golden nugget. And it was like 2 golden nuggets that were incredible. So I've been trying to figure out ways to give people a golden nugget. But you don't have to give anything. I was just curious if there's anything that we haven't talked about that you think would be important for people that might be watching this.
So something that I noticed that had been working before all this craziness began was that if you run your ads from a non-branded page, so for instance, if I had a company called Lead King Solar Services, I would not run it from that page. I would run it from something like the Tampa Penny Saver or Best Deals in Tampa, something like that. I found that in the past, and I haven't tried this recently, but I haven't tried it since March, but it was converting at double the amount of leads for the same price. And what that gets back to is a lot of people that's listening to this probably know of a guy named Brian Stuman, the hardcore closer. I followed him when I first got into marketing and sales. And one of the things I learned from Brian Stuman when I was in his tribe, or whatever he calls it, is that you always want to hide the salesman. You never want to let them know up front that, hey, I'm a salesman, I'm going to close you, right? So what you do is you kind of ease them into it, just like we were talking about before. You want to bring them into a page that it would be like Best Deals of Tampa. See if you qualify for a $1,000 cash rebate, right? And then we get them into the system, and then we slowly introduce ourselves as a solar sales rep. We don't ever say up front, Russ Ward Solar Company, I'm going to close you, as soon as you submit this form, because people are terrified of that. They know that they've experienced those guys before, So that is one thing that's worked for me in all niches that I've done. If we hide the salesman, that usually leads to a much higher rate of having a conversation.
For sure. And it also, another thing that I tell people is, because I do the same thing, I do third-party pages, is there are people out there that think it's a scam. There are people out there that are going to think your offer is too good to be true. They're going to have a negative image of whatever company is running that ad. And because that's really what you're doing is you're walking a thin line when you're trying to come up with the absolute best offer. You have to say, oh, here's $1,000 cash back. We'll do this, this, and this. It does sound too good to be true, and people that are just scrolling, they're going to see that and they are, oh, that does seem a little bit kind of scammy. What company is that? Oh, it's a solar company. And so what you do by doing community pages, you can kind of take all that flack. You can catch the negativity, and the only people that actually have an interaction with the company behind it are the people that are actually interested. And it kind of is a way to create a barrier that hopefully will improve your brand for the future. And another thing too is similar to what you just said is you always want to hide the salesperson, and that's why whoever's calling and making those appointments, they need to be like, oh, I'm not a salesperson. I'm just here to see what your situation looks like, see if you can save some money, see if you're in a good position. And then if so, we would be able to put you in contact with this person. This person is the person that's going to know all the answers to your questions. And so by kind of creating that divide, you want to keep your team on the side of the customer for as long as possible. And then eventually, once you've kind of given them you've gotten the information from them, you've eased them into the process. At that point, you can kind of ease them into the sales conversation. But I do think that's huge, is people that are out there that are just using their so-and-so solar company and they're running ads that say, oh, go solar now and save money. And it's people, they know that there's a sales pitch coming. They're less likely to opt in. And what that does is, while we might get the people that are opting in are obviously a higher quality, there's still people that are sellable that we're missing out on because they're not going to respond to that. So it's similar to when we're looking at cheap leads, and I know we're both fans of cheap leads. You're casting a big net because there's a portion of the population that has a little bit of interest, and those people are the difference between making a lot of money and just closing a few deals. So awesome,
one last
Russ.
thing too.
There we go. There we go. There it is.
So one thing you can do to kind of hack your ads a little bit is, before you run the ad, make a post on your third-party page. So for instance, I'm going to make a page called Best Deals of Tampa. I'm going to run a post on that page with either an engaging video, an image, or whatever my offer is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run an engagement ad. And the only goal of this ad is to get people to click, like, share. And I'm going to run $10 to $20 a day at this for 3 days. So then by the time I really run this as an ad, it's already going to have 200 likes. It's going to have like 50 comments. It's going to have like 30 shares. And that creates a bit of social proof. So when people see your ad coming up, they're like, wow, man, a lot of other people are into this. Now I'm going to jump into it as well. So I learned this from e-commerce. I recently started an e-commerce brand, and I started applying this to other leads that I've been generating. And I'm finding that adding that social proof element before you actually run the ad is making a world of difference, because it's just a psychological thing that us humans have. You know, if everybody else is doing it, we want to do it too.
Yeah. Have you seen any decrease in cost per impressions with that?
I haven't done it enough to really get a good metric like that. So if I said yes to that right now, it would be true, but it just, the data is just not big enough to really honestly say that long term. Like I literally I've been playing with this for about 2 weeks now.
Yeah, no, that's gold. And I know that people have had success with that. Years ago, it was a popular strategy, which was just to get the engagement. And once Facebook knows that your post has a good engagement rate, then you can actually change it to a lead generation post, and that you're going to be able to maintain that same cost per impressions, which is obviously probably one of the most important metrics. Which actually gives me another question for you. When you're looking at the Facebook ad dashboard, like, what are the most important metrics that you like to track? Obviously, like cost per lead is the biggest one, but what other metrics do you like to look at that kind of give you information to help you improve?
Yeah, so I'm looking at usually 3 things. I'm looking at cost CPM, cost per impression. I'm looking at cost per lead, but the other thing I'm looking at is the amount of clicks. Because in some areas, like I can tell you accurately and predictably in real estate, every time I get 4 clicks, I should have a lead, right? So what I can usually do with solar is I can say, when I'm running this kind of ad, X amount of clicks should lead to X amount of leads, right? And if I say I get 50 clicks in and I have no leads, then there's something wrong with my ad. My pixel's messed up, my ad copy's messed up, something's wrong along the way. So what you need to do is you need to figure out what your numbers are. You know, whatever your market is, you figured out, okay, it takes, for every 8 to 10 clicks I get, I'm going to get a lead. So now if you're up to 27, 28, 29, 30 clicks, you need to figure out what the hell's going on here, because that's the reason why you need to know your numbers, so you can see if stuff is messed up or not. Because before I knew my numbers, I just had no idea. I was just looking at cost per lead and, you know, throwing up my hands and hoping for the best.
Yeah, and it's also a cost per lead is like the end result. It tells you how well everything's working as a whole. But when you look at the metrics, it tells you more to the story. So like, for example, Facebook tells you clicks on your, like basically clicks on your post, and it also tells you link clicks. So like clicks on your post is a good measure of how good your hook is, how many people are stopping and actually clicking to read what your post is about. link clicks is how many people are actually reading it and pressing the button. So those can kind of tell you two different things, where if one of them is lower, then you can say, oh, my people aren't clicking the link as much as usual. Like maybe I need to improve my ad copy, or people aren't clicking on the post quite as much. Maybe I need to improve my image and my headline. And so you can use those to kind of fine tune the process, because overall, when we do all that, it should in return lower our overall lead costs, but there's definitely different things that we look for, and that's awesome. So Russ, thank you so much for your time today, man. I greatly appreciate it. You're the lead king. I'm so grateful to have been able to chat with you. Real quick, actually, because I remember we discussed this and we didn't actually talk about it, is I want to hear the story about you and your mask. So I saw you in the Washington Post, and we got to hear the scoop on this.
Yeah, man. So I live in Tampa, and we had been one of the more free states when it came to the country shutting down. But recently, all the counties around me started requiring masks everywhere we went, right? And I'm just like, look, I don't care. Require a mask. I'm not going to fight with the store owner if they want me to wear a mask in their store or not. It's their prerogative, right? So I had this clash with we have a trolley downtown Tampa. And I got on the trolley, and the guy's like, you can't ride the trolley unless you wear a mask. And I said, I'm not wearing a mask. And so we kind of went back and forth. He goes, are you seriously willing to get arrested for this? I said, yes. I said, and I'm going to record this, and you're going to be on it. It's not worth it to you. Just make the trolley go. And so he calls his boss, and long story short, they're like, you know what? Just let the guy ride the trolley and ask him to sit in the back, right? And so I did. And I didn't get on that trolley trying to cause a scene. I'm just so sick of people telling me what to do with the damn mask. So the day goes on, and then I bought this mask earlier because I got season tickets for the Tampa Bay Bucks for the first time this year. I'm totally pumped. We got Tom Brady, we got Rob Gronkowski. I can't wait. And I know that the Bucks are going to require masks. So I started thinking to myself, in this hot as hell Tampa heat, how am I going to wear a mask and not hate life, right? So I found this paintball mask on Amazon where it's like all metal mesh. It doesn't protect you from anything. Your breath goes right through it. You can talk, you can breathe, perfectly easy. And I put it on, and I went into Walmart, who was requiring masks, or they kick you out. And I just wanted to see what somebody would do if I wore a mesh metal mask into a store. And I wore it into like 4 different stores, and I made videos on it. And one of them got picked up by the Post. And the key to it was that I was just trying to prove that nobody cares about it safety. Like, I'm walking around with a mask. If I sneeze with this, it's going to go just as far as if I don't have a mask on. And I was talking to store employees. I was talking to store managers. The point was I wanted them to notice that it was a mask that didn't protect anybody from anything. And I wanted them to say something about it if it was about safety. And it wasn't. Nobody cared. It was all about compliance. And that's why my video went viral, because I said, this is all about compliance. It's not about safety. If it was about safety, they would require us to wear, respirator masks so we couldn't hurt anybody. And so, a girl from an advertising agency actually contacted me and said, hey, can I buy the rights to your video and I'll go out and market it? And anybody who wants to, license your video, I'll split the money with you. So she did that. I made a couple $100 from it. And then what ended up happening was so many people friend requested me and liked and shared my video. We had some haters come in, and I had like 100 people report my video, and I got blocked on Facebook for a couple of days because it was hateful and it was against their terms of service. So, but now I'm back, and I do tend to have a little bit of a rebel side to me, so that's kind of like up my alley, things like that. So it's not personal, man. If you guys want to wear a mask, I don't care. I'm not judging you.
Yeah.
But I don't want to wear a mask, and I'm not scared. I'm a very healthy person, been very rarely sick my whole life, and I know people are going to say you're going to get other people sick. And you know what? Wear a mask if you want one. I don't care what you do, and that's how that went viral. So it got me thinking. How can I make other things go viral, right? I guess you got to do controversial stuff. So
yes, I was talking about someone that's what makes, like, I think Trump's a great example. Is he says crazy stuff, and he says controversial things, and that's why he gets so much publicity. Is because if you are controversial, then you're going to be able to get more clicks. And if it's something that creates an emotion, whether that emotion is positive or negative, that more people are going to react to it, more people are going to be able to comment it, more people are going to be able to share it, and that's marketing. But I think that's awesome. I think it's great that you were in the Washington Post, which is insane. And that's crazy, dude. Because I remember I was watching the live stream where you were on the trolley, and I was like, oh, this could go viral. And then it didn't turn out to be anything. I was like, oh, darn. I was like, oh man. And then like later that day, I was like, how he's viral for something else? What? But that's a great story. I'm glad that we got the scoop here. Maybe I'll edit this out, post it on Facebook, and hopefully it doesn't get banned. But I enjoyed talking to you. We'll have to do it again sometime. And thank you for all that you do in all the communities that we're in on Facebook. You provide so much value out there. And I know solar isn't your primary focus, but you're an awesome guy and super knowledgeable about solar. And I greatly appreciate your insights. Real quick, before we go, if anyone wanted to reach out to you and talk to you, what would be the best way for them to reach out?
Just go to my website, theleadking.com. Make sure you put a "the" in the front of it, so theleadking.com. Every single way to contact me, see my YouTube channel, anything at all that you want to learn from me, and I have a lot of free stuff there. My website is not just I'm going to sell you something stuff. I have a free course on there. I have a whole bunch of free resources. I have videos. I'm all about providing value and content to people before I ever ask you for any money. And that's how I came up in this business, and all my mentors have come up in this business the same way you probably have as well. So don't be scared to reach out. Don't be scared to friend request me. I'm not going to reply back, hey, buy this course. It's not me. I do have a course if you want to buy it, and it's very good, but I don't think you should buy it until you're ready for it. That's just how I feel.
Yes. Always, whenever marketing 101, always provide value before you ask something. So thank you again, Russ. I hope you had an awesome day, and we'll do this again soon.
All right. Talk soon.